Quinnipiac University YouTube channel. We're a couple minutes away from Quinnipiac Live, the show for college students or those heading off to college soon, and we're here to answer all of your questions live. And today, we're going to talk about the best tips for making friends in college. And I know that's a worry that you might have. I know I was really worried my first day of college. Jamie, how worried were you your first day?
I was very worried, as anyone would be, because you're kind of going to a new home, you know? So
Yeah.
you kind of want to be in a really nice spot when you make new friends and be comfortable, you know?
Really, packing up your whole life in your dad's minivan, and you're driving away to wherever you're going for a whole new life.
Right.
And, you know, whoever's joining us, tell us where you're from, you know, get the chat going. But most importantly, send us your questions because we'll answer them live. I'll get them right here on my laptop. So yeah, I got Jamie in here with me today. You're a senior. And Aaron, you know, what do we got looking forward to today?
So today, like you said, we're going to be giving out the best tips to making friends on college campuses and making your transition seamless into the college.
Lots of insider little nuggets, secrets
Right.
that we've learned along the way.
I know you guys, you
yes.
got a bunch of tips. You know, some of them similar, but some of them really different. Hopefully you won't know them because then we'll be able to teach you something today, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and so, you know, we're going to be telling you all the kinds of things that you could do on campus, you know, maybe some tips even when you go off campus, things like that. And, you know, I mean, remembering when you went to school, right, it was nerve-wracking?
Absolutely.
Making friends?
I mean, I work on a college campus now, right? But
Yeah.
I still, I mean, and I see it every year. I see the same, it's the same nerves. It doesn't change no matter when it is. You're nervous. It's a new environment. It's a new chapter in life. So
Right.
it's supposed to be nerve-wracking.
Right, and even for me and Jamie, and you know, you're a senior, I'm a junior, I'm still making friends to this day, depending on where you live. You go to live in new places, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all about applying those hidden secret techniques.
Right. Well, it looks like it's 4 o'clock, so Boomer, roll that open. Hey Bobcat Nation, it's Quinnipiac Live, the show for college students or those going to college soon, here to answer your questions live. Remember, I'll get them right here on my laptop, so I'll see you all joining the chat and stuff. And we're just here to make your time as a college student that much easier. And today, we're talking about the best tips for making friends in college. I have my friends Jamie and Aaron. I hear you guys are experts on making friends.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? You guys got all the tips lined up and ready to go. So talk to me. What is your first top tip for making friends in college?
So my number one tip is to definitely get involved on campus. Join a club, join an organization, rush for Greek life, anything like that. And if you're lucky, your campus might have an involvement fair of some sort where it's pretty much in a public space and you have all the organizations on campus pretty much advertising themselves, whether it's through tabling or whatever it is, and then they'll give you information and then you kind of compare your like-minded interests. And if you guys do share those like-minded interests, then you'll join that organization and you'll make some of your best friends.
Right.
Right, like at Quinnipiac, so we have an involvement fair. It's tomorrow, actually, on our quad in the afternoon. If it rains, we'll be inside, but let's hope for no rain. You know, we have over 150 student organizations that are going to be represented there. We have some offices and departments from across campus. So no matter what you're looking for, you want to join the baking club, you want to join the volleyball club sport team, you want to, you know, join the choir. I mean, chances are there's some type of space on that campus where you can kind of come together and find out and get all that information in one shot.
Yeah. And I can tell you, the involvement fair tomorrow, that is the place to be.
Right.
And going into college, I had no idea that was a thing in any college, right? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
were some of the things that you stopped at, that you saw?
Oh, I definitely stopped at Student Government Association. I also stopped at a service fraternity that I'm actually a part of now. And I also stopped at the orientation leader table. And these are all 3 organizations that I'm a part of now because they piqued my interest. I like the goals that they stood for. And I knew that I could offer something really cool into those organizations.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did the TV station, and I love that now. I have some of my best friends in it. What's your guys' second tip for making friends?
So I guess if you live on campus, you would have to kind of, you know, put yourself out there, like, you know, leave your door open, really introduce yourself to the people in your space. If you're walking down the hallway, a simple wave and, like, you know, conversations in the bathroom, just like small talk, some very small gestures can
Right.
go a very long way in your experience here at any college that you end up going to.
Yeah.
I think the same thing can be said for a commuter student. I think if you're commuting to college, figure out where students are hanging out in between classes so that when you're on campus, you can start to connect with folks too. You can find other commuters as well. At Quinnipiac, we have a commuter lounge. A lot of our students hang out in the student center in between classes. It's a great way for them to kind of build connections as well. And listen, you're living that commuter life. It's a whole different thing than when you're living on campus,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So we also have lockers for our commuters here. So I think we have people that become locker buddies too.
Yeah, that's funny.
They're next to each other all the time.
You
But
learn
yeah,
something new every day. I didn't know that. So there you go.
There you
go.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your guys' second tip for making friends?
So along the kind of line of going with the residential halls, if you live on campus, definitely, on your campus there might be people that are student leaders and resident assistants that kind of program events for you to kind of facilitate the making of friends. However, you should really recognize that those aren't the only people that can make those opportunities, and I challenge you to actually, do anything like that's a small gesture, like such as baking cookies if you have a kitchen in your residential hall, because I remember my freshman year, there were these girls that baked cookies every single weekend, and it was just a notorious thing because you could open up your door and you would smell them, and then you just walk over to the kitchen and there'd be so many people kind of just lined up for these cookies.
That's
and
funny.
so people are just talking to each other, and it's really breaking the ice, and you get to make a lot of friends there.
Yeah, and you get some cookies. So
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
what's better than that?
Yeah, and I think you need to, figure out what your residence hall is like on your campus too, right? So at
True.
Quinnipiac, we have traditional style residence halls where you're sharing bathrooms. We also have suite style residence halls. And I think you need to kind of figure out the lay of the land a little bit, and then you go from there. But find the opportunities. Go to your floor programming. Go around and meet people who have their doors open. Like, you're in that space. Like, go out of your way to create the connection.
Yeah, I remember my freshman year. I mean, my roommate makes the best playlists on Spotify, so I was listening to those all the time. And you leave your door open, and someone walked in and was like, "Hey, that's a really cool song. What is
Yep.
it?" And then I had a friend down the hall, and there you go. Like, that's somebody you could talk to, like somebody you can find more out about, right?
It
Yes.
happens in an instant.
It does.
Yeah,
It
you
really
don't even
does.
realize it, but then when I think back on it, I'm like, "Hey, that was really nice," and it was cool.
And then
Yes.
next thing you know, you're asking them to go grab dinner.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, you're going to the movies on Friday night, and boom, you have a friend.
And then you're making your own playlist.
Yes.
Right.
One thing
Yeah.
leads to another. Yes.
What's another tip you guys have?
So I would definitely recommend putting yourself outside of your comfort zone and kind of taking that courageous step. So definitely during the first few weeks that you're here, it's a lot easier to kind of put yourself out there because no one really knows each other yet. And even though it might look like people know each other, it's not really solidified that
Right.
then. So I remember my first year, it's like when I was eating breakfast by myself, there were two girls that came over to me and that said, "Hey, is anyone sitting here?" And I said, "No." And then now we're best friends till this day. One thing led to another. And, it was just that small gesture of them putting themselves out there and them identifying me as that person that didn't really know a lot of people.
Right.
And they kind of involved me into their group.
You must have put yourself out there at some point. and did
Yeah,
something completely
it's
different.
so hard to get yourself in that mindset. But for me, like living here at Quinnipiac, I had 3 other roommates, so it was like, "Hey, you want to come with me to this?" And even like you've mentioned like you just got to put yourself out there, even if you don't have someone else to go with, right?
Right.
When I was in college, I did a radio show, and that was something I had never done before.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it. I really wanted to challenge myself to try. That was something I was interested in, and so I went out there and I did it. And I had a radio show for 2.5 years, and I had an internship on a radio station, and all these other things. So you don't know what those opportunities are going to lead to if you
Yeah.
just take that first step.
Yeah, and we actually have a question from C. Murray Cinema. Thanks for joining us. And he wants to know what kind of events are organized for freshmen to socialize. So anywhere that applies to, what do you guys think for that?
So I think, some of the big things kind of off the bat, a lot of colleges will have welcome weeks, right? So that
Yeah.
first week or the first 2 weeks of school, their sort of programming group, like at Quinnipiac, it's our student programming board, but they're called all sorts of different things on college campuses. They'll host events every day for, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 days. I think those are some of the best events to go to kind of right away and start to kind of just connect with folks, because it's a social environment that's being created for you.
Right. One of the big things too is check your emails for those.
Definitely.
Your email's
Absolutely.
so important when you get to college. So, make sure you keep refreshing it like before bed so that you can know what's going on the next day. You'll see flyers and like a student programming board or something like that.
Absolutely. And I think too, finding out where does your university put their events that are being programmed, right? So like at Quinnipiac, this year, brand new for us, we did this welcome guide, which is an app on your phone, and it has the first 6 weeks of everything that's going on, programmatic wise for the first 6 weeks. I've heard so many people be like, this is so cool, you know? So figure out what your school has.
Yeah,
you know, and
most
use it.
likely on your phone too. You know, we're using our phones every day.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yes.
And what about another tip? What else you guys got? Because we got getting involved, putting yourself out there, going to events yourself, you know, all that stuff. What else you got?
Yeah, so speaking of the phones, definitely stay off them, disengage, you know, because
Yeah.
on your way to class, you know, it's very tempting to really find something to do while you're doing that. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with being uncomfortable walking from class.
So hard, yeah.
Yeah, but if you miss those opportunities while you're on your phone to simply do a wave to somebody that you met days before, or even engage in some kind of small talk or talk about like, how was this class? And then, you know, kind of share that conversation, you miss out on something that could evolve into something even better.
Yeah.
So.
You know, you may pass that person every time you're going to that class at that time, right?
Definitely.
So get the app, but don't be on your phone too much, right? So,
Right, that's the message we're going for.
Right.
Yes.
Erin, what's another tip that you have?
Sure. So we talked a little bit about this earlier about creating opportunities sort of in your sort of environment, right, that you're living in. I would say going a little bit beyond that too. Put yourself out there to go to events. You know, there's at Quinnipiac, right, we have 5,000 events going on or more
Really?
every year. Your college does too,
Yeah.
or the college that you're looking at probably does. So go to them. You know, at the end of the day, your money that you're paying is going towards putting those events on. So why would you not take advantage?
Right.
So go to things, challenge yourself, go to a art exhibit if you've never been to one, or a cooking class, or, you know, whatever. There's so many cool things that colleges are doing now.
Right. And that could even be around the area, you know, getting to know outside. I know here in Hamden, we got a lot of places to go, and it's really fun. Like in New Haven, you know, the museums and stuff like that. It's fun to go to a friend, get lunch, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And we have more tips coming, but remember, put your comments, your questions in the comments section below. We'll be looking out for them, and we'll answer them here for you live. So if you don't want to ask your friends how to make other friends, your family, you're uncomfortable with it, ask them here, and we'll answer them for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. And how about any other tips? What else you guys got for me?
So another tip that I have is, you know, when you're going to class, I think it's a great opportunity to sit with other people every class. Like pick a different seat.
True.
You know, most you're not in high school anymore. Most people aren't assigning seats. I mean, maybe some people, but not typically. You know, introduce yourself to everybody around you and get to know the people that are in your class, especially if it's classes within your major. These are folks you're going to be with for the next couple of years. They're going to be your friends. So take the time. Don't just get in a class and get on your phone. We were talking about this earlier, right? Because we haven't started yet. So let me scroll through my Instagram feed. No, like talk to the people around you, shake their hand, get to know them.
Right. And I also think on that piece, when you have a professor that, for say, assigns some kind of group work, definitely engage in that group work and definitely, you know, make those friends within your group and, you know, try to solidify that, form study groups and things like that. That's kind of like on the piece of making your own opportunities and not really waiting for other people.
You know, study groups are a great idea because you're studying and you're making friends at the same time. So hitting two birds with one stone with that one, right?
Yes.
And something else, you know, I'm a little bit older, as we know. I mean, some of my best friends I made in college came from classes. Those are people I still talk to however many years later. And those were people that I spent time with in class. They were passionate about the same things that I was interested in. So trust me, make your friends in class.
Right, and if it doesn't come naturally, it will. Like you said,
Yes.
having, you know, being in the same major, having that many classes with so many people, you'll get to know faces and stuff, and then you'll be like, well, we're going to have to get to know each other, you know?
Right.
So sometimes, you know, you have to be proactive, but sometimes it will also come to you too.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys got more tips for me? What else you got?
So I think something that you touched on this a little bit earlier, but getting connected with your local community. You know, if you want to do service work and you want to connect with a local agency, it's something that you're passionate about, find out what those agencies are and what exists in your community and go out and interact with those folks and find some opportunities there. I think if you're looking to do a Taekwondo class and it's not being offered on your college campus, but you're going to, you know, college in Boston, like, awesome, go find a Taekwondo class in Boston, right? Those
Right.
things exist. And, you know, that's how it's also a taste of the real world a little bit, where you have to go beyond your community and start to see what else is out there and what else you can explore. You never know where you're going to make a friend. So why not kind of explore some of those opportunities too?
Right. And we have another question from Joseph, and he wants to know, how do you make time to study and excel in your academics while still having fun and being social? Jamian?
I think it's all about just time management, really. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
really prioritize what's important to you, but you also have to kind of take a holistic approach to your mental health and, like, you know, your social health. And then, you know, obviously studying, you know, you're here to get an education, but it's all about making time. And you can, who says you can't do both? I mean, you could study with friends, with productive friends. If you guys, like Erin was saying before, like, you know, you take classes with these people. If you guys
Right.
make that kind of study group and you are hanging out, having fun, and also studying at the same time, you just really have to delegate your time productively and really assign time for everything.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the biggest things that college students struggle with this. You know, it's that first sort of venture, I think, into adulthood where, you know, you don't have someone over your shoulder every day saying, hey, you got to wake up and it's time to get on the bus, right? You don't have that. And so you got to get yourself to class. You got to get yourself into the library to study. You have to make time to go to the gym, eat, hang out with your friends. You have to find a balance. And
Right.
you got to work, and what works for you isn't going to work for Jamian, right? So you have to find what's going to work for you, but you can absolutely do it all, and you're going to have so much fun.
Yeah,
doing
that's
it.
one of the big things too, is how different everybody is, you know? Because colleges is about finding yourself, you know, as people say that, but it really is true, and as cliche as it may be, it is true because, you know, you're learning about your schedule, like what you prioritize, what you know you want to get done. And it's different for every major, every person, every grade. So you kind of have to figure out what works for you. And it's trial and error too, you know? It's like,
Absolutely.
you're not going to make friends, they're not going to show up, right? So, you know, you have to try and figure out what events you're going to go to, what you're going to maybe miss out on, and what you're going to prioritize. But at the end of the day, like, you'll find the balance that you need to make friends, do well in school, be social, and really just have a good time, right? And at that point, it'll feel like college is a breeze, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Any other tips you guys got for me?
My last tip that I have, and I learned this the hard way myself, and I'll talk about that in a second, but you need to stay on campus and be present and be around. You know, go to events, meet the people in your residence hall, get comfortable with this idea of being a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of say, okay, I'm gonna go home like that first weekend because home is safe, and that's great. Of course, you want to go home and talk to people about how your first week at school went, but I'm gonna encourage folks, stay there. You know, be there on a weekend and really kind of feel it out. This is something I struggled with this myself when I was a college student, and it wasn't until, you know, I really kind of forced myself to stay for a couple of weekends. And I was fortunate enough that I could go home on a weekend. Not everyone can do that, so some
Yeah.
people don't have this choice, right?
Right.
But once I was there and I kind of keyed into what was going on, and it felt completely different.
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is what this like, and you found this new sense of freedom
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
I think
You learn to love that. You really do.
you do.
And even if your parents are like, no, come home, like, I'll make you a nice homemade dinner, just say, you know what, no, I'm good. Cat food is good this weekend. I want to stay here. I want to go to this. I want to do that. And you have to stay on campus. You're right.
There comes a point where you really relish that you get to call the shots,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I know I did.
Yeah, you stayed on
Yes.
campus your
Yes.
freshman year.
Yeah, and
certainly.
I did have that luxury to go home as often as I could, but I didn't take it because I saw it as missed opportunities. If I was off campus, I wasn't really engaging with any peers that I could while I was away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And remember, put your questions in the comment section. We'll answer them live. If you want to make friends, you know, you're nervous about it. We all were nervous about it, so don't be shy. Feel free to drop them in. And we do have a question from Sam from New Hampshire, wondering what teaching and education programs you have. What do we got?
So that's actually a great
I'm like,
question because
Jamian.
Yeah, how
I'm-
perfect.
I am in the Masters in Arts of Teaching program. So that's you get your master's degree in 5 years. That's here at Quinnipiac, and it's a great program because, you know, I'm in my 3rd year now, and right now I'm going to enter field study, where essentially I go around to neighboring schools all around Connecticut, and I kind of observe teachers. You know, I kind of assess what they're doing and see what styles I like. And then by my 5th year, I go into the field studies. I'm not field study, I go into student teaching.
Cool.
So then I'll be able to go into classrooms, do my own little lesson plans, and Quinnipiac's actually paying for that your 5th year. So it's really nice to get that all in 5 years, you know, like the master's degree in 5. That
Right. And
really
I
was what appealed to me.
understand you're in your 4th year, right?
Yes.
So right now, like your classes and what's that like?
Right. So I do a class right now that kind of teaches you the ways of making lesson plans and constructivism and really the best teaching tips and how to really kind of negate all the bad ones.
Yeah.
It's great.
Definitely at Quinnipiac here, we are very hands-on. But sadly, that's all the time we have for this episode. For more on Quinnipiac University or college life in general, check out the description and the links below. Thanks for hanging out with us, and be sure to join us every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, where we'll answer all of your questions college students have or those heading off to college soon. See you next week on Quinnipiac Live. Go Bobcats!